A fugitive warrior lived in shadows until 5 alien matriarchs chose him as their only salvation. Beginning. The Undercity of Vadri's Prime was a labyrinth of steel and neon shadows. Here, among rusting pipes and forgotten tunnels, fugitives vanished from the eyes of law and empire alike. And in those shadows lived Kalen Drix, a warrior who once stood at the forefront of Earth's defense legion. Now, he was a ghost. Kalen's name had been etched in war records across 3 systems. He'd fought in the Siege of Kalar, led a counterstrike on the blood-drenched plains of Solorn, and survived battles no human should have walked away from. But victory had come at a cost. His commanding officers betrayed him, branding him a deserter to hide their own failures. For years, Kalen hid in the cracks of civilization, living by his blade and instincts. He avoided attachments, avoided notice, and kept his past buried under silence. To the passers-by in the Undercity markets, he was just another drifter with scarred knuckles and watchful eyes. But fate never lets warriors rest for long. One rain-slick night, as Kalen was repairing a broken vibroblade in his dim quarters, 5 figures cloaked in silver entered the Undercity. Their presence rippled through the slums like a shockwave. No one wore silver cloaks unless they belonged to the Council of Matriarchs, rulers of the Cytherian Conclave, a powerful alien federation known for their wisdom, their cunning, and their matriarchal dynasties. Kalen had no reason to care about politics anymore. Yet when the cloaked women found his door, when they spoke his name as if they had been searching for him across the stars, he felt his carefully built shadows trembling. "You are Kalen Drix, once of the Terran Legion," one of them said, her voice resonant with authority. "We have come because only you can save us." Middle. At first, Kalen laughed bitterly. Save them? He couldn't even save himself. But the matriarchs persisted. They revealed their names: Serenia, Valith, Orisha, Lyrian, and Kalara, leaders of 5 great houses that had ruled the Conclave for centuries. Normally united, they were now desperate enough to seek help from a disgraced human hiding in filth. Their enemy was the Kalith Dominion, a relentless empire of warlords who had discovered a weapon capable of unraveling entire star systems. The matriarchs had spies, armies, wealth, but what they lacked was someone who had faced the Dominion's fury and survived. Someone who knew how they fought, how they thought, and how to break them. And Kalen, against his will, was that man. "Why me?" he demanded, pacing his cramped quarters. "The Legion cast me out. I'm no one." "Because," Serenia said firmly, "you have no loyalty but to survival. And survival is what our people need. You are unbound by politics, unbroken by defeat. We do not need a general to lead armies. We need a predator to teach prey how to fight." The words stung. Yet Kalen saw the truth in their eyes. They were not here to flatter him. They were here because they had no other choice. For days, he wrestled with the decision. Freedom meant staying in the shadows. But something in the matriarchs stirred the warrior inside him. They were not tyrants. They were leaders who bore the weight of entire civilizations. And in their desperation, he saw echoes of the soldiers who had once looked to him for guidance. Finally, he accepted. Not for redemption, not for glory, simply because refusing would damn them all. Kalen was taken aboard the Matriarch's flagship, the Eternal Veil. Unlike Terran vessels, it was a cathedral of light and song, its walls etched with living crystals that pulsed with the crew's emotions. Each matriarch ruled her own contingent, but on this mission, they followed Kalen. He trained their soldiers personally. The Cytherians were graceful, agile, but unaccustomed to the brutal efficiency of Dominion warfare. Kalen taught them how to strike from shadows, how to fight dirty, how to turn desperation into weapons. He sparred with them, pushed them, broke them down, and rebuilt them. And slowly, they began to understand the Predator's art. But it wasn't only soldiers who changed. The matriarchs themselves watched Kalen closely. Valith admired his relentless discipline. Orisha questioned his strategies with sharp wit. Lyrian sought his counsel in private. Kalara challenged his temper with her fiery defiance. Serenia, ever the calm center, began to see in him something more than a weapon. She saw a man who had carried exile like a chain and never let it break him. Kaelin, who had lived in shadows for so long, began to feel the dangerous pull of belonging again.
Conflict.
Their first strike came at the moons of Doras, where the Dominion had established a weapons depot. Under Kaelin's command, the Cytherians launched a surgical raid, small teams striking silently in the night, crippling supply lines and vanishing before alarms spread. The Dominion was caught off guard. For the first time in years, they bled. But victory came with a cost. The Dominion unleashed its terrifying weapon, a resonance annihilator, a pulse cannon designed to destabilize planetary cores. Kaelin witnessed it firsthand as an entire moon cracked apart, its atmosphere boiling away. The Matriarchs were shaken. "How do we fight a power that can shatter worlds?" Lyrienne whispered. Kaelin's voice was grim. "By cutting off the hand that wields it. We don't face the cannon. We face the warlord who commands it." That warlord was Zerath Kor, a Dominion general known for his brutality. Kaelin had faced him once on the plains of Solorn and barely survived. Zerath was more than a commander. He was a monster bred for conquest, armored in living metal and fueled by endless rage. But Kaelin knew his weakness: arrogance. Zerath believed himself invincible, and that Kaelin intended to exploit. Climax. The plan was simple, suicidal, and perfect. Kaelin would lead a strike team directly into Zerath's flagship, draw him into combat, and end his reign in personal battle. The Matriarchs, united, would rally their forces to dismantle the Dominion fleet once their leader fell. As the Eternal Veil dove into battle, Kaelin stood armored once more, a warrior reborn. Selira, the empath he had freed months before, was not here now, but the 5 Matriarchs stood behind him, their faith like a fire at his back. Boarding the Dominion flagship was chaos. Blaster fire, screams, the clash of steel on steel. Kaelin carved his way through soldiers until the great warlord himself appeared, towering, eyes burning like suns, armor dripping with molten energy. "Kaelin Drix," Zerath roared. "The ghost who runs from his own people. You dare face me?" Kaelin tightened his grip on his blade. "I've run long enough." The duel was titanic. Every blow shook the deck, sparks raining around them. Zerath's strikes could have cleaved tanks in half, but Kaelin moved with lethal precision, using speed over brute force. The Matriarch's forces clashed with Dominion troops all around, but the outcome of the war hinged on this battle. At last, Zerath overextended, roaring in fury. Kaelin drove his blade into the warlord's chest, shattering the living metal and piercing the heart beneath. Zerath fell, and with his death, the Dominion fleet faltered, its discipline unraveling. The Cytherians surged. The Dominion broke. Ending. When the smoke cleared, Kaelin stood bloodied but alive. The Matriarchs approached, their eyes shining with relief and triumph.